welcome to the Explainer. Okay, let's dive right into this. Today, we're breaking down the terrifying anatomy of a curse. We're specifically looking at how ancient, blood-curdling rituals actually function when they simply refuse to stay buried in the history books. We'll be pulling from two incredible sources that dissect the nuts and bolts of hauntings. So if you've ever wondered how the supernatural operates on a step-by-step basis, you are in the exact right place.
Seriously, ask yourself, what would you do if your own reflection stopped mimicking you and just started living its own life? I mean, it's an incredibly chilling thought, right? This is the core of the mirror pact, which is a psychological trap we're going to dissect shortly. But before we get into the creeping dread of your reflection turning against you, let's set the stage with a totally different kind of haunting.
I want you to put yourself directly in the shoes of Rupa. She's a housekeeper working the night shift at this prestigious, heavy British-era heritage hotel. Out of nowhere, you hear this unmistakable, heavy, dragging sound coming from a honeymoon suite that you know for a fact is empty. You swipe your master key, the light turns green, the lock clicks, and in a single heartbeat, your ordinary reality completely shatters. That takes us to Section 1, opening the wrong doors, or the inciting incident. Because every curse needs a doorway, right? Let's transition into our first thematic breakdown and compare how both of these terrifying events begin. The initial trigger is literally the most crucial part of understanding how the ritual breathes. So inside that empty suite at the Royal Crescent Hotel, Rupa's discovery isn't just a brutal crime, it's pure nightmare fuel. She finds a headless body suspended in midair, bound to the bedposts, just swinging slowly like a pendulum. While the police might look at this and think murder, the mechanics tell us something way darker. This was a carefully set stage for a ritual. Now, contrast that bloody physical stage of the hotel with the inciting incident of the Mirror Pact. This one doesn't kick off in some dark hotel room. It starts as a seemingly innocent childhood game. It's a ritual performed simply to beautify oneself. There's no blood, no obvious violence, just a quiet psychological trap waiting right there on the other side of the glass. Which brings us to Section 2, Anatomy of Ritual Logic, and how curses breathe. What's really interesting about this next part is how strictly these events are governed. Yeah, these aren't just random acts of chaos, they follow an inescapable playbook. Let's define the mechanics of the hotel curse first. The keyword here is Arpun, which literally translates to sacrifice. When our housekeeper Rupa uncovers this dusty wooden box in a storage room, she essentially finds the blueprint for the dread she's experiencing. Inside are old black and white photos of people wearing black robes and masks, mimicking the exact swinging body she found. This whole thing dates back to a secret society from 1931. They were practicing meticulously crafted spiritual warfare, using sealed basements, stone altars, and these creepy symbols of eyes and handprints to anchor dark power right into the building's foundation. On the other hand, we have the mechanics of mirror logic. Now, this ritual doesn't demand blood on a stone altar. It demands an identity swapped in glass. A reflection literally hijacks the real world, forcing the victim to just watch helplessly as their entire life is stolen. It leads to a complete psychological breakdown. Let's look at them side by side. The really crucial point here is that curses can attack entirely different vulnerabilities. Arpun relies on physical sacrifice, rooted in that 1931 secret society, using stone altars to anchor its power. But the Mirror Pact, that relies on a psychological swap. It's masked as a childhood game, using the glass boundary to steal an identity. Basically, one attacks your physical body, and the other goes straight for your very sense of self. Now, let's track the timeline and the historical gravity of the Arpun curse. Following this along, the secret society forms in 1931. For 80 years, this curse just sits there, festering, soaking into the architecture of the hotel. Then boom, the activity violently spikes at 3 a.m., the classic witching hour, leading unstoppably toward the final hour where the sacrifice actually has to be completed. Talk about an incredibly patient dark power. And the why behind that patience is found in this deeply disturbing prophecy from the cult's 1931 diary. Quote, "Until the final Arpun is complete, they will return," end quote. That right there is the core logic of the horror. It means the ritual isn't a one-and-done event, it's a cycle. Those masked figures, they don't just disappear when the cops show up, they actively follow the person who opened the door. That brings us to Section 3, the point of no return, the supernatural slip. Let's move to this and see exactly how it builds. This is the terrifying turning point where the curse officially stops being a historical artifact or a silly game and starts actively bleeding into the victim's reality. There's a 3-step sequence. Here, Step 1, the inciting incident, swiping the key or doing the mirror game. Step 2 is the slip, which is the exact moment the supernatural invades reality. And step 3 is the inevitable conclusion, the swap or the sacrifice. Let's look at how the slip plays out for Rupa. It's 3 a.m. She glances under the crack of her door and sees feet standing there. But here is the absolute blood-curdling detail. The feet are inverted. They are facing backward. That impossible visual, that is the exact moment the hotel ritual slips right into Rupa's skin, almost like a demonic possession. Contrast Rupa's physical threat with the slip in the mirror pact. The victim realizes her reflection has simply stopped mimicking her. It moves entirely on its own, and then it actually begins taking over her real-world relationships. Rupa's dealing with monsters outside her door, but our mirror victim is literally watching her own identity be stolen from inside her own bedroom. Moving into Section 4, the inescapable end and the gravity of the ritual. So the crucial point is, you absolutely cannot outrun a completed pattern. Once the logic of the ritual is set in motion, it is going to finish itself. When Rupa realizes this curse has been festering for 80 years, she hits her breaking point. She tries to bolt. She tries to call the police. But the ritual has its own sick, gravitational pull. No matter where she runs, it drags her right back to that haunted honeymoon suite. She's pulled to the exact spot she needs to be for the pattern to be completed. And the mirror trap? Equally inescapable. It just violently snaps shut. The victim completely loses her identity to the glass, leaving the real girl trapped forever inside the reflection, while the imposter just walks free. The ritual required an identity, and the gravity of that requirement simply could not be denied.
For Rupa, the end is brutally physical. The police eventually find her suspended in the suite, identical to the first victim she discovered, and written on the wall right next to her, in fresh blood, are these exact words: Unten Arpun, the final sacrifice. The 1931 playbook finally closed its chapter.
Which brings us to the core takeaway you should get from this explainer. Rituals, whether they're rooted in ancient hotel cults or modern childhood games, never truly perish. They simply sleep. They wait patiently in the foundations of old buildings and in the silver backing of your mirrors, just waiting for someone's curiosity to pry open a door that was meant to stay firmly shut. So, I want to leave you with this final thought tonight. The next time you're staying in an old building and you hear a dragging sound in the hall, or the next time you catch yourself gazing just a little too long at your own reflection in the bathroom, what will you do? Will you double-check your locks tonight or your mirrors? Keep learning, stay observant, and thank you so much for joining me to dissect these incredibly dark stories.